This video is intended for somebody who is looking to buy a handpan. You might have seen some confusing numbers placed all around handpan videos you like. Things like 1111, 888 or 432. These are the numbers of types of frequencies. So this video is going to help you to uncover which handpan might suit you better. Should you buy a handpan that's tuned for 440 Hz or one that's tuned for 432 Hz? I'm going to explain what that means and help you make a choice. Far back in the past, there was no agreement between what an A was. Someone in one town would play an A on their violin, and somebody in another town would play that same note, but it would be tuned to a different pitch. So they wouldn't actually agree with each other. Over time, people in different countries agreed that it would be best if we all chose the same note to tune to call that an A. Generally, we agreed that 440 is a really helpful note for everyone to tune to. Still, to this day, some countries like Germany often use 442 to tune their A, but it means that when somebody plays a note, everybody else can put their instruments in tune, whether that's a little bit sharper or flatter, in an orchestra to make that sound all together. Normally, we use 440. However, in the handpan world especially, 432 is a really interesting number. A lot of people speak about this frequency. While 440 is a bit brighter, a slightly higher sound, that 432 is a slightly lower pitch. It means that that note is tuned slightly lower. While the handpan is in tune with itself, a good handpan is always in tune with itself, but that first note, that starting note, is slightly different. So this gap is the same amount of notes apart, it's just our first slot starts a tiny bit lower than another instrument might. The instrument is in tune with itself, but what that is slightly lower than another instrument tuned to 440. Have a listen to these two instruments. One of them is tuned to 440 and one of them is tuned to 432. You can hear a slight difference in pitch. I'll play another note. So this instrument is tuned with an A, meaning 432 Hz. And it sounds like this. It's in tune to itself. Some people select this handpan because they believe that this frequency is more healing to the soul. Our atoms are all vibrating at different speeds, and 432 might be a speed that's more connected with our atoms. Many people have singing bowls, gongs or didgeridoos also tuned to these pitches, and by playing them all together in the same sound world, that can make a really nice sound. However, for me, I find it's a little bit easier if you take an instrument that's tuned at 440. Pretty much every other instrument in the Western world at least is going to be tuned in 440 or around that. And that means that if somebody is playing a piano or a guitar, they can hop on and you can jam with them. Also, most handpans are tuned at this frequency, so you can jam together. If you've got that 432, it is slightly lower, it sits slightly more oomphy, but it just doesn't quite connect with any of the other instruments that you might want to be playing with. So if you're going to be playing by yourself or with some other instruments that you've already tuned to 432, then this does make more sense. But as soon as you start trying to work with somebody else, finding that more common frequency is really helpful. Should we try a jam together?
Hello.
This is Amy Naylor. Thanks. Both of these instruments are in tune with themselves, I promise you. Meridian handpans, excellent handpan builder. But when they're played together, there's such a wide range of frequencies for each note that our brains just get quite scrambled, quite overwhelmed. So if you're playing with another instrument, and one of those is 4-3-2, it's never going to sound tidy and neat together. In music, normally we have notes right next to each other. We have a D and a C sharp. The C sharp is directly below the D, there's nothing between them. However, what 4-3-2 Hertz does is slide lower than D and higher than C sharp into this space in between. It doesn't snap quite to either side, instead it exists right in the middle. So this is a D minor pan. If we take a full step down to that lower sound, we get ourselves into C sharp minor, which is even lower, and sometimes it's that earthy sound, which I think people are really drawn to. This is even lower than that pan. I think this can be a really helpful choice because we've taken our D, we've taken our C sharp, we've taken ourselves a whole step down, which means we can jam with all other instruments that exist in this scale. What the 4-3-2 does is slot in between two pitches. We have a D, we have a C sharp. That scale sits kind of halfway between. If it was on a piano, it wouldn't be any note at all. So while it sounds fine and great by itself, if I play it with another handpan or directly after, it can feel a little bit out of whack, a little bit out of itself. At the start of this video, I mentioned a few other numbers, 1111 or 888 or many other numbers. That isn't a tuning. You can't get a handpan tuned to 888. However, that's a sound, a frequency at that note. So if the handpan is tuned into 440, then we sort of double that, make a note double as high as that and get our 888 note. That sound will be in the background of a video that's tuned there. That might be a handpan video with that frequency, or it could be any other kind of instrumental video or binaural beats. Any of those can have that frequency embedded. So that's not something to do with handpan, that's something extra that's added in on top. So you can't get a handpan that's tuned to 1000 Hertz, that just doesn't quite make sense. Instead, if you like that sound in that video, see if you can pick out that additional frequency that's been embedded into that. If you buy a good handpan, just like this one is, it will be in tune. Every single note will sound good in relation to the other ones. The way that it's supposed to, those gaps are the same. However, it doesn't quite sit right inside of the whole musical landscape to my ears. Buying a handpan is such a personal experience, so make sure you listen to a bunch of different players on a bunch of different scales and some different tunings. It's really important to hear the 4-3-2 in context, because by itself it might sound phenomenal. Whichever one is the one that speaks to your heart is the one to get. Thanks for watching.